So, okay, there we go. We are recording. So welcome to Thursday IPC. I'm sure it's been a crazy busy week for all of y'all. I know it has for me, trying to keep up with everybody's attendance and the assignments that y'all are doing, and making sure that it's all written down correctly in different places. I resorted to using old school pen and paper method to keep up with everybody that shows up to these meetings and stuff, just to make sure that everybody gets the credit that they earn by coming in and participating and stuff like this today. So I'm pretty sure all of y'all were at least able to come to part of our meeting yesterday. So today we're gonna go over some basic kind of scientific principles relating to making observations and inferences. If you've looked at the daily assignment for today, some of that might sound a little bit familiar. I'm going to try to do a little bit of back and forth discussion with y'all, where I'm asking you guys some questions over the Zoom, and then you guys are free to unmute yourself and talk just like you would in class, or if you want to put your answers down in the chat, that is okay too. But before we get started for today, before we get into all of our science kind of talk, does anybody have any questions about the online class stuff that we're going to be doing this year? I know we've thrown a lot at you over the past couple days in terms of your attendance and your grades and making sure that you're on the Zoom meetings and the Google Classrooms and all sorts of stuff like that. But does anybody have anything that they are still not sure about, or still have questions about, or want explained in a little bit more detail? Any questions about any of our school stuff before we can get going here today? So if you're not able to stay in the Zoom the whole time today, that's okay. Also, if on a future day you're running late to the Zoom meeting, that's okay too. As long as you're able to get on at some point during the meeting and be a part of the class and watch part of the notes. That's what you need in order to get your attendance over Zoom. So if you're not able to stay on 100% of the way through the class every day, or if on some days you're running late and you jump on the Zoom call late, that's totally okay. Like, you're not gonna lose credit or anything. As long as I can see that you joined and you're here, that's the important thing. All right. Any other questions about school, attendance, grades, anything like that before we get started for today? All right. If you do have questions at any point, feel free to type them down in the chat, and I'll be checking on that every once in a while to make sure that everybody can stay up to date on the answers to those questions. So if you think of something while I'm in the middle of going over our notes, then just write it down in the chat and I'll get to it before we end class today. So speaking of class today, let's go ahead and jump in to our first little kind of science-y discussion of the term. All right, so can everybody see my screen okay? The big think like a scientist slide that I have up here. All right, cool. Thank you for the thumbs up, appreciate it. So since it's still the first week of this crazy year of school, I wanted us to start off with something pretty simple and pretty basic, but that'll be a good way of kind of getting ourselves in a scientific mindset going into the rest of the term. And that is one aspect of thinking like a scientist, which involves making observations about the world around you and then drawing inferences about those observations that you have made. So when I talk about scientists observing something, what exactly does that mean? How do scientists observe? A lot of people, when you hear observation, you think, oh, seeing something, using your eyes. I can observe the world around me with my sense of sight, my vision. I can see people and objects and animals all around me every day. And it's true that vision is an important observation skill that we have as scientists. However, that is not the only way that we are able to observe our world around us. Instead, observations can be based on your 5 senses. So if you remember back from like elementary school or grade school when we were going over this stuff, you have 5 senses as part of your body. Sight or vision, which is probably the one that humans are most reliant on and most accustomed to. Hearing, using your ears to pick up on noise around you. Touch is an example of an observation, so you can feel if something is hot or cold, smooth or rough, hard or soft. Taste, which is an observation that we don't really use a lot of in science in general because it can be dangerous to put stuff in your mouth, but you can observe food through how it tastes, whether or not it's salty or bitter or sweet or savory. All those are examples of observations you can make about food through taste. And then finally, smell. So your nose can be used for observations as well. And in fact, there's some reactions that scientists use their sense of smell in order to figure out if that reaction occurred or how long it's been occurring for. So observation is not just seeing things and writing it down. That might be the one that we use the most, but we can also observe using sight, or using hearing, touch, taste, and smell. So all 5 of your senses can come into play when you're making an observation about something. So we can group our observations into 2 different types of observation. They have very long and confusing names, but I'll try and break them down for you. So our first type is quantitative observations. These are observations that deal with things like numbers and amounts. So quantitative observations would be things like a person's age or weight, right? I am 28 years old and my dog weighs 16 pounds, 6 ounces. These are numbers and amounts. These are quantitative observations. So when you hear quantitative, think like quantity or amount, right? So when you go to the grocery store, you're buying a certain quantity of food. Maybe you need 3 avocados and half a pound of tomatoes and 1 bag of onions in order to make some really good guacamole. Again, these are all numbers and amounts. So things that we're counting, things that we're measuring, things that we're weighing, all of these fall under quantitative observations. The other type of observation is whenever we describe something without using a number, or an amount. These are called qualitative observations. So qualitative is like quality, is kind of like the first part of that word. So a description of a person or animal or object. So descriptions that you can't really express with numbers. So I have brown hair. My dog's fur is white. The computer that I'm talking to you on has a very bright screen, and it's very smooth on the base and on the screen and on the camera. When I touch it, it's very smooth. These are all qualitative observations. So observations that we make without describing things using numbers or amounts, but instead things like color, brightness, not heaviness, that would be quantitative, but it's feel. So is it smooth or rough? Is it hard or soft? Those are qualitative observations. You're describing an object, but you're not saying exactly how much it weighs or how tall it is or how fast it's going, anything like that. So when we're making scientific observations, we can make quantitative observations and use number and counts to measure things, or we can use qualitative observation, where we use our senses to describe something. So what I want you guys to do right now is make some quantitative observations about the room that you're sitting in right now. So for example, in my room that I am in, there are 1, 2, 3 computers, and I have a 6-foot tall bookcase behind me. These are quantitative observations because it's me measuring and counting things in my room. So what about you guys? Either put in the chat or unmute yourself and say it out loud. But what are some quantitative observations you can make about the room that you are sitting in right now?
May I ask the question again? Oh, it's right here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so make a, hold on, go back. There we go. So I want you to make a quantitative observation about your room. So either a count of something or a measurement of something, if you want to guess like how tall something is or how much something weighs. What is a quantitative observation you can make about the room around you?
That I don't know. I guess if they didn't build this little living room I'm in correctly and all the stuff that's in it, we'll be all fell in already. Like that?
Kind of, but remember, for a quantitative observation, you have to use a number or an amount. So like, for example, Stacy is saying that she has 8 chairs in the room that she's in. And Sierra says that her room has 2 windows in it.
Oh, I get it now.
So what's something you can count in the room that you're in?
There's one TV in here in the living room.
There you go. That's perfect. There's 1 TV in your room. So yeah, Star has 1 couch. Julie has 1 laptop and a 6-foot tall bookshelf. These are all excellent quantitative observations. So they're things that you're counting or measuring about the room around you. So again, quantitative, quantity, numbers. That's what you should be thinking with quantitative. Tyson's got one bed and one window. Perfect. So now let's switch it up a little bit. What about a qualitative observation that's around you? What's a color or a texture or a smell or a, I guess taste would be kind of weird, but you could do taste if you really wanted, that you can see in the room around you.
There are some tasty tacos around me. I don't know.
All right. So Tyson's got some tacos that taste really good. That's awesome. Star has a textured ceiling. So she's looking up at the ceiling and can see that it's not nice and smooth. It's rough. Julie's got a white desk and a bookshelf. Perfect. Ooh, Sierra has some nice blue walls. And Stacy's got a blue picture. My walls are unfortunately very white in this room, but the desk that my laptop is sitting on right now is very smooth. It has a very smooth surface on it, and it looks like it's made out of wood. I don't know if it's real wood, probably not, probably fake wood, but still. And I have a really bright lamp over just behind my computer that's giving off a lot of light that I'm noticing with my eyes. So Star's got some brown tiles on her floor that make a texture. So yes, these are all great examples of qualitative, man, even I get confused sometimes, qualitative observations. So things that we can observe about the room around us using descriptive words like colors or textures. So quantitative, numbers, amounts, weights, heights, measurements. Qualitative, description, colors, texture, smell, taste, qualities of objects. All right, so that's really good. Great job making some very good observations. So inferences are when we make one or several observations and use them to come together with an explanation. So you use your observation that you've made to develop your inference. So your inference is like your explanation about what you are observing, putting sort of your best guess into what you think is going on based on the observations that you're making. So for example, like today, if you see that the sky is dark, the temperature is cooling down a little bit, there's a lot of clouds that are moving in, you can make the inference that there's going to be rain or there's going to be a storm. So even though it wasn't raining currently, you could still make an inference about how likely it is to rain later based on what you're observing right now. So if you see dark and cloudy skies and you hear some thunder and see some lightning in the distance, those could all be observations that lead you to the inference that your house is about to get some rain in the next few minutes. Right? So like if I walk into a restaurant and I don't know what kind of restaurant that it is, like my friends didn't tell me before we got there, but I go in and I start smelling salsa and cumin and I see tortillas being flipped over on a hot skillet, I might be able to make the inference that this is probably a Spanish or a Mexican or a Tex-Mex restaurant. So you make observations about the world and then use those to give an explanation about where you are and what you are seeing. All right, so the next thing that I want you guys to do is either out loud or in the chat. If somebody didn't know what room in your house that you are currently in, how could people make an inference about what type of room that you are meeting up on this Zoom call in based on things that they could observe in that room? So, for example, the room that I'm in right now, there are 2 desks on either side. There's the one that I'm sitting at and the one for my wife behind me. Each desk has a computer on it. I have a printer over here next to me, and I've got a whole bunch of pens and pencils and highlighters and stuff in the desk below me. So you could make the inference that I'm in an office in my house. I'm in my home office. And so what about you guys? How could people determine what sort of room in the house that you're in right now based on some observations? So Star is saying that she has a couch in her room and there's a patio to the outside next door. So that means that she's in the living room in her house. So if somebody just walked in our house and saw a couch and a living room, or a couch and a patio, they could figure out that it is a living room. Sierra mentions that there's a bed and a crib in her room, which means that she is in somebody's bedroom, either her bedroom or her kid's bedroom. But the fact that there is a bed and a crib in there would lead you to a pretty easy inference that this is bedroom. All right, and Stacy's got a china cabinet behind her or somewhere around her. So she's most likely in a dining room, right? You don't normally put a china cabinet in a bedroom or directly in the kitchen, right? That'd be kind of weird. All right. Jacques is making some observations about the world outside, that the sun is starting to come back out and there's fewer clouds than there used to be earlier, which means that the rain is probably over, at least for now. That is a great example of an inference, using what you're observing, more sunlight, fewer clouds in the sky, to make an inference that there probably is not going to be a whole lot of rain in the near future. All right, great examples of observations and inferences, everybody. Thank you very much for all of those. All right, so before we talk a little bit about our assignment today, you guys seem like you have it down pretty well so far, but are there any questions up to this point about qualitative observations, quantitative observations, or using those to make inferences? Any questions about any of the stuff we've talked about so far? All right, looking at the chat, looks like nobody's jumping in with a question, which is great. Like I said, it seems like you guys are getting this pretty down so far. Just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page as of right now. All right, so the next part of today, I'm gonna have you guys take a look at the daily assignment that I posted earlier today. Some of you have done this already, which is awesome. But if after today you want to go back in and change some of your answers, or you think you could come up with better answers, that's totally fine as well. You can always go back and change what you submitted through the end of the day today. So the assignment that I'm going to have you guys work on is going to test your ability to make observations and inferences about a series of related pictures. So the way that the assignment is going to work is that you can do it on a Google form, which has the pictures posted on there, or you can use these notes to write down your answers on a Google Doc. But essentially, there's a series of 3 pictures, 3 images. And for each picture, I want you guys to record 3 observations and 1 inference on your Google form or your Google Doc based on each image. Normally, if we were doing this in class, we do it all at the same time and then talk about what we saw and do it all at the same time and then talk about it. Obviously, that's a little bit trickier to do that here, but we still might talk a little bit at the end about what you guys have seen. And so the 3 pictures that you guys are going to be recording your observations and inferences for look something like this. Again, you don't have to do it right now. I'm just kind of showing you what you're going to be recording for your daily assignment. So here is our first picture, this guy right here. And for those of you who maybe are having trouble figuring out what this assignment is called Mystery Footprints. And so these are footprints that we're pretending that like somebody has just taken a picture of, or that we're observing out in nature one day. So here's our first image. We've got these guys up here and these guys down here. And so for this first image, for your assignment, you'll write down 3 observations of what you can observe just by directly looking at this picture. Unfortunately, we're not able to use any of our other 5 senses today since you are just looking at it at a computer screen. So please do not try to taste or smell your computer screen in order to make your observations. Just rely on your vision for this one. The second picture will be this right here. So you're going to make 3 observations and then 1 about what you think is happening in all this craziness going on in here. Oop, hold on, I'm trying to. Where's that? What's that? Hold on, I'm trying to get our chat to appear back again. It's not doing it. Hold on, here. All right. So 3 observations and 1 inference, what you think is happening in this middle picture. And then finally, 3 observations and 1 inference for what is going on in this picture down here. All right. What can I? So in order to get to your assignment for today, which like I said, some of you have been super on top of and have gotten to already, so excellent job on that. So on the assignment posted down here, the mystery footprints one, you have the option to do it through a Google Doc, a Google form. So if you do the Google Doc version, it just comes up with a blank document where you write in your observations and inferences for each image. But the pictures aren't on here. So you'll have to go back to the notes posted right here in our 9/3 Thursday notes section. So if you click on that, you'll be able to open it up and scroll down and look at the 3 images down here at the bottom of the notes. Or if you want to, like some people have already done, you can fill out the Google form, which does have the images posted in it. It includes the directions for each of these images, make 3 observations and 1 inference. And then we have our first posted image with 3 places to make an observation and 1 for an inference. And then we copy that again for our image 2 and image 3. So by the time you finish with the Google form or the Google Doc worksheet, you should have made 9 total observations and 3 total inferences about these images. Again, your observations should be just things that you can see by looking at the picture. So not trying to describe anything about what might be happening, but just when you look at this picture, what do you physically see represented? Your inference is where you'll try to make an explanation or a suggestion about what do you think is happening. When you look at this picture and you make these observations, what do you think is going on in order to create these mystery footprints? All right, so Google Doc version or Google Form version, whichever one works better for you, this is going to be our assignment for today. Hopefully, it should only take you a few minutes to get through. And as always, if you have any questions about how to do it or what to do, reach out to me and I'll do my best to help you out. There's the question. All right, so yes, Star, the pictures are on the Google Classroom, but you have to make sure to go to the notes from today. So it'll be posted as 9-3 Thursday. Yeah, today's Thursday. 9-3 Thursday notes, observations and inferences. And that's where you'll be able to see the pictures again if you want to do it on the Google Doc version. Or if you do it on the Google Form version, the pictures are already posted in there for you to look at. All right, good question though. Thank you for reminding me to bring that up. All right. Any other questions about the daily assignment for today? Any other questions about making observations and inferences, or the qualitative versus quantitative observations? Anything that we went over today that you have any questions about? All righty, doesn't look like it as of right now. So that's all I have for in terms of teaching and doing notes for you guys today. I'm going to leave this Google Zoom open for the next 20 minutes or so in case you do have questions about the assignment and you want to come back on, or if you just want to stay logged on for the next little bit while you work on the daily assignment, that's okay too. But I have everybody written down to get your attendance for today. Again, make sure you finish that daily assignment so that I can grade it and get your grade posted in the grade book. But that's all I have for y'all today. So have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys for our next class next Tuesday. So hang around in the Zoom room if you want, but if you're ready to go, then you are free to leave.